Cougar fans, Troy Prattley signing into the first Coaches Weekly edition for the fall of 2024. I'm here with head women's soccer coach Eddie Garza. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to get to do this with you for the first time. I've done volleyball, tennis, softball. This is going to be my first soccer Coaches Weekly, so I'm really excited to follow your team throughout the fall. Before we get into this upcoming season, I want to give the fans and parents and maybe the people who don't know necessarily what goes on from the time that your season ends in the fall of 23 until your season begins here in the fall of 2024.
Yeah, so for the players that are returning, they go into, we in essence start preparing for the next year, right? They start to understand what positions they're going to play, and then we start our off-season lifting, and they get together and do a lot of captain's practices and things like that. Then we get into our non-traditional, and that's where we are more individualized on the things that we want to improve on, whether it's like, technical abilities, fitness, and things like that. And it's just like the spring is to get us prepared for the summer, and so that we're ready for the fall. So there's a lot of it's a long process. There's a lot of time, but we use it to just improve, and I think the players took advantage of it, and I'm looking forward to see how it translates this year.
So let's talk about some of those players. You've got a good mix of returners and new faces. There's 14 new faces, I think, to your squad this year. But then, plenty of talent back from last year's team. So what have you seen early on in camp from both the new players and also the returning players, and how that mesh has kind of happened here in the fall?
Yeah. A lot of the returners, some of them I did recruit, and the ones I didn't, they've been under me this is their third year, and I think they bring a good foundation and a good core, and they understand how things run, and they've stepped up in the leadership role, which you always love to see as a coach, and that allowed a good acclimation period for the freshmen. So the freshmen are fitting right in, and I think that's part of the leadership again from the returners. The freshmen have also, are giving us different looks, different skill sets that I'm excited to see it for myself, but obviously for the fans to witness as well. I think together the returning core and the newcomers will really give CUC a different look than what we've been used to.
And let's talk about kind of heading into games. Last week you got to go to Clark and scrimmage there, and what did you see from that scrimmage? Sometimes that's a lot of trying to put the pieces and see which group works best together and kind of how that all works itself out. What did you see out of that scrimmage that gives you the confidence to say, we're moving in the right direction, we're going to have a good season this year? Yeah,
in a nutshell, the returners have broken a lot of the habits that we've been working to break. We have a core of how we want to attack and how we want to defend, and they have set that foundation, so I don't have to reteach it. I just have to freshen up on it. So I think they have a good understanding, and we're seeing the pictures that we've been wanting to work for, which is more possession, more of the ball, and naturally in any sport is finding ways to win. So for us, scoring opportunities and going to goal and trying to find ways to win.
And looking for a win tomorrow in your team's first game, you've got Augustana. What do you got to do to come away with a victory there?
Yeah, the players just need to commit to believing in themselves, applying the things that we've been working on, trusting that process. All buzzwords, but for the most part, it's going to come down to consistency and execution. We have a very talented group, so they have to trust that they can make the right decisions in critical moments. But I also feel, taking some risks. I think we've been very conservative in areas the past 2 years. I would consider ourselves a little bit more defensive-minded. We did really well in that aspect, but I think this year it's like taking that next step. Again, because of the new core and the gained confidence, I think that's what will help us get that result tomorrow.
And I'm just curious from a coach's perspective, do you look at any of the preseason polling and how that shakes out, or is that something that's out of sight, out of mind, we don't worry about it, or does the team kind of look at that and use it as fuel almost?
Preseason polling has little to do with anything, mainly because it's based off the coaches' rankings, what they submit to their sports information directors. Every team loses players, every team gains new players, so it's hard to predict how the actual season will lay out. I'm fine where we're at. You know, we can kind of coast under the radar and surprise some people, but we don't pay too much attention to it. For me, it's a quick email, just keep it as is and move on.
Yeah. And before we wrap up here, I'm also curious about this. Very different than the sport that I play in football, where we play one game every 7 days. Your team's going to go on a stretch here early where you're going to play 5 games in just 9 days. And so how does that recovery time look like, where you're trying to forget about a loss or a good win and then recover back mentally and physically in a taxing sport, where there's a lot of back and forth and your legs can get tired and so forth, to be able to keep going and play that many games in a row, one after another, and just stay fresh mentally and physically?
Yeah. It's going to come down to, part of it is rotation. So having the depth and strength to, give people a rest in those games, because they maybe need more recovery. And I also feel my team has the mindset of like one day at a time. So today we were focusing on training, making sure if this was the last time we touched the ball, it was the best that we could have it. And I thought they did really well. Going into Augustana, we focus on them. We're not thinking of our next opponent. I didn't know we went on in 9 days, 5 games, but I mean that's the reality of our schedule. I like to front load the non-conference, so I don't play non-conference in between conference. But my planning is taking into consideration working with the athletic training staff that are great and assisting our athletes and like managing their workload. So a lot of the responsibility is on me. Part of the responsibility is on the athletes, where they have to communicate. But for the most part is, like every other team, you have to make tough decisions that aren't favorable, but it's for the best in looking at the season as a whole rather than game to game.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing the season play out, and tomorrow and Sunday especially, so good luck in those games.
Thank you.
For more information on CUC athletics and women's soccer, you can head to www.cucougars.com. Troy Prattley signing off, the Cougar Sports Network.
I'm Dr. Russell Dawn, president of Concordia University Chicago. Thank you for tuning in to today's Cougar Athletics broadcast. We take great pride in the strength of both our athletic and academic programs, which are rooted in our steadfast commitment to Jesus Christ. Dedicated to the liberal arts as a foundation of a high-quality college degree, we believe education should form individuals for service to their neighbors. This makes Concordia Chicago an exciting and fulfilling place to study, work, learn, and grow. Learn more today by visiting cuchicago.edu. Thank you, and go Cougars!
Welcome to the Concordia University Chicago Cougar Stadium as we get set for the first home match of the 2024-25 school year as your CUC women's soccer team takes on the Eagles of Spalding University from Kentucky. Peter Borkowski with you here on the Cougar Sports Network, joined by Dave Dimling. And Dave, always an exciting time getting back to campus. Always exciting to see these fall teams take the field, take the court, whatever it may be, for the first time. And we get our first home look at the CUC women's soccer team today. Not the first look in general. They played their season opener this past Friday. Things didn't go super well for the Cougars. A 4-0 loss at the hands of Augustana College, little ways west in Rock Island, Illinois. And it was really a story that we saw continue from last year for the Cougars, Dave. The struggle to produce offensively. Cougars got shut out 4-0, only got 2 shots on goal. And like I said, we really saw these struggles start last year.
Yeah, definitely, Peter. I think one of the main issues that we saw in that first game, kind of spiraling back from last year, was last year they only averaged about half a goal per game. And I think that's going to be one of their main problems that they're going to have to solve this year if they want to change anything from what they did last year. I think the main thing they got to do is apply pressure on the keeper all day long if they want a chance today.
Right, only 2 shots on goal last game for the Cougars, and it was a very different story for their opponent, Spalding University, coming off a 1-0 win at fellow NAC school Rockford yesterday. They outshot Rockford in general 30-1, and Dave, this is a team with a lot of aspirations. They won the SLIAC conference last season, lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament to Calvin, and they come in 1-0. And, you know, just defensively, Dave, this is going to be a really big contest for the Cougars, trying to break through Spalding's defense, I should say. Again, only 1 shot allowed against Rockford. This is going to be a good test for the Cougars coming off that loss against Augustana.
Definitely. Spalding's a really good ball club. It looks like they're projected third on chances to win the SLIAC this year. At the end of the day, it's just going to come down to what I said earlier about applying pressure overall, as Spalding's got a really good defense, and the Cougars have sometimes showed a lackluster offense, but I think if they want a chance, they're going to have to switch both those today.
Well, it's a new team this year for Eddie Garza. 14 new faces on the Cougars roster. We'll get our first chance to see the Cougars play at home in just a couple minutes here. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll get starting lineups and national anthems on the field. Then we come back on the Cougar Sports Network. CUC women's soccer takes the field, trying to get their first win of the year and their first home contest of the year. We'll be right back for it on the Cougar Sports Network. The starting lineups have been read. The national anthem has been played as we get set here for the Cougars versus the Eagles. Let's go over those starting lineups one more time for everyone watching at home. First, for the Spalding University Eagles, it is number 3 at defense, Ellie Trentman. Number 6 also at defense, Macy Rollins. Number 8 midfielder, Trinity Bowens. Number 12 forward, Emma Livingston. Number 14 midfielder, Melanie Frick. Number 17 forward, Caroline Lighthaw. At forward, number 19 Faith Rutherford. At defense, number 22 Clara Andrews. Forward, number 28 Madison Diedzik. And rounding out the lineup is midfielder number 31 Jalen Dodson. Starting in goal for the Eagles is number 1, the senior Olivia Bosch. The Eagles, they're coached by Taylor Smith, the grad assistant. Natalie Francis, the assistant coach, and the head coach of the Eagles in his 3rd season is Jordan Vehar. And now the starting lineup for your Concordia University Chicago Cougars. It's number 3 midfielder Allie Brown, number 7 midfielder Izzy Fairless, number 9 at midfield Pamela Saldivar, number 12 defensive player Valeria Fernandez, number 14 midfielder Natalie Flores, number 16 also at the midfield Sophia Cazares, number 17 at forward, Malika Kenworthy, number 20 midfielder / forward, Quetzale Arteaga Vasquez, at defense, number 23, Julissa Diaz, and at defense, number 24, Ellie Wheelock, and starting in goal for the Cougars is number 00, the junior Brooke Sheriff. And Dave, goalie is a position I kind of want to focus on here for the Cougars. Cougars last year, they relied heavily on Alani Burnell. She is now off the team, and they turned it over last game on Friday to Brooke Sheriff, the junior, and she only got 10 minutes in the game before being pulled for Caitlin Wagner, the freshman. So goalie's going to be an interesting position to watch here. It's been a position that's always been really solid for the women's team. You had Alani Burnell last year, and before that you had Cassie Salenzi, both very solid, and this year it's going to be interesting, especially in this game, to see what Coach Garza does at the goalie position.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be an interesting topic of discussion for the day and potentially for the rest of the season. Obviously the junior has taken the rightful place in her mind as being the starter for the Cougs, but obviously you also got to think about the future sometimes, and if the freshman has more potential down the road, maybe it's worth it to take a look at it for a few minutes here and there.
Well, Brooke Sheriff, the junior, led the team in save percentage last year, a 900 save percentage. Played about 525 minutes last season. So Sheriff in goal now as we are underway here at Concordia Stadium. Spalding gets the ball off a turnover, and they turn it right back over to the Cougars. Here's Arteaga Vasquez. Hands it off to the far side of the field as Spalding not able to keep that one in. Ball goes out right in front of their bench, which means we will have a throw-in coming up here for CUC. And I think, Dave, right off the bat, the main thing you want to see for the Cougars is just being able to control the ball in the offensive end of the field for them. This is a team, again, only 2 shots on goal against Augustana on Friday. And one of the main ways you get shots on goal is just by possessing the ball.
Definitely. It kind of seems like, from what we're seeing so far, Spalding's kind of got that bend, don't break kind of defense where they might let you penetrate a little bit, but you can tell they're very stingy with allowing shots on goal, considering in their last matchup against Rockford, they only allowed 1 shot on goal all day.
They have 1 shot in total, to be more precise. They outshot Rockford by a total of 30-1. Rockford's 1 shot did go on goal, and the senior goalkeeper, Olivia Bosch, had no problem making that 1 save to earn herself a shutout, but one of those shutout days where maybe more so the defense than the goalie. You only let 1 shot on goal. That's kind of the definition of making things easy on your goalkeeper.
Definitely. I think at the end of the day, it just is going to come down to putting some pressure on the keeper overall, because when you let the defense work like that, it's not going to be a very hard day for the keeper.
No, that is nothing to say no demerit on Bosch's play in her career as an Eagle. 20 games played, 1.7 goals against average, a .692 save percentage between 2021 and 2023. You could add in the 1 game played this year, 1 save, 1 shutout. as the Cougars have a deep throw in here, almost at the corner, as they are doing a good job spending some time in the Eagles' defensive end. This ball knocked out last touch by an Eagle, so Cougars will get the throw in. Spalding wearing their blackish blue away jerseys as they're attacking left to right on your screen. The Cougars, of course, wearing their home white, going right to left here in the first half of play. 45 minutes per half, as we are already roughly 3 minutes into the first half of action here today. Cougars control it on their own end of the pitch, as they are just trying to move this ball up far side right in front of their bench. They do control it, and nice maneuver there by Julissa Diaz as the Cougars trying to escape their own end, as there is a turnover, and that ball put ahead. This could be a shot, but coming out to make the grab is Brooke Sheriff. Good play there by the junior. Take that chance away from the freshman, Carolyn Lighthall. Sheriff gets set, launches this ball. It'll make it to about the 37-yard line here on the football field at Concordia Stadium, as Diaz handles it. They're going to try to move it up the far sideline, but Spalding able to kick it back in. Cougars do control it. Ellie Wheelock, freshman out of Holland, Michigan. And a lot of freshmen starting today for the Cougars. Names like Wheelock is a freshman. Sophia Cazares, a freshman. She's starting at the midfield. You also have Natalie Flores. She had a shot on goal last game against Augustana. So this is kind of a nice mix of different ages for Coach Garza. Dave, you have some older players like Allie Brown. This is her 5th year here as a Cougar, a grad student out of St. Louis, Missouri. You have, of course, then you got those younger players I mentioned, all the freshmen, and also sophomores like Izzy Fairless. She's getting the start today. So kind of that nice mix of, you got those veterans who know what they're doing, but you got those younger players who kind of throwing a wild card to the other team's plan. Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things you're starting to see, too, is now that we're at Coach Garza's 3rd season, you're starting to see some of his recruiting classes showing up and playing some more minutes throughout the time. And I think that's really going to showcase what kind of recruiting he's been doing overall in his short time here. Couple remnants on the team of players brought in before Coach Garza, as Dave pointed out, really had a chance to get his first recruiting class in here. As Spalding will have a throw-in on their end, on their half of the pitch, I should say. Not too far away from mid-pitch. As they throw it back, they're going to kick this one back to Bosch in goal, let her handle it. And some nice pressure there by Sophia Cazares. Ball moved up the near sideline. Here is Ellie Trentman, junior out of Fairfield, Ohio. She moves it up. Rushing for it is Emma Livingston. She's not going to be able to get there in time. Ball goes out the end of the pitch, which means a goal kick coming up here for CUC. Livingston had the lone goal against Rockford yesterday. She was assisted by Madison Diedzik, sophomore forward. Only goal that Spalding could muster against the Rockford Regents yesterday in Rockford, as Kentucky starting their season off with a little trip to Illinois, playing the Cougars today, the Rockford Regents yesterday. Some MAC opposition, as good defense there from Ellie Wheelock. They will get that ball away. Ball out of bounds. Last touch can be issued on Spalding. So Cougars a throw in here as they throw it back to Malika Kenworthy. She'll boot it up ahead, where Spalding will get control of it near sideline. Able to keep it in. Good footwork there from Macy Rollins. But Brooke Sheriff able to make the snag, and she's going to try and get the Cougars going here quickly.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the Spalding's playing some suffocating style of soccer here. Is that it seems every time the Cougars are around the ball, you got about 2 or 3 Eagles all over them immediately.
And it looks like they're kind of settling in, too. We saw at the very beginning of the game, Cougars spent a nice chunk of time down in Spalding's end of the pitch, and now the Eagles maybe getting a little bit comfortable, kind of know what they're dealing with the Cougars here. Spending a good time on the Cougars' half of the pitch, as CUC will get a throw-in right at the end of their bench. throw in to a group of bodies. Spalding comes away with it. And CUC able to get a foot there to knock the ball back. This one's going to get kicked forward, but blocked there by Valeria Fernandez, a senior on the CUC roster, a player that Coach Garza has mentioned as one of his senior leaders on this team in general. As there's another senior leader for the Cougars, Malika Kenworthy pushes it up ahead. Back to Fernandez. Fernandez and Kenworthy both wearing that purple band on their biceps, which stands for captain. Allie Brown also has one on. As whistle blows, Cougars thought they were going to get a throw in. Instead, it'll be Spalding. So here's Livingston ready to try and get her offense going here. Not much coming out of that one. Ball rolling towards the corner. Fernandez is just going to let it keep rolling. Boxes out. Lighthall, make sure the ball goes out the back of the pitch, and that'll mean a goal kick here from Brooke Sheriff. As she sets the ball and will knock over to Malika Kenworthy. And she'll try and get that one down. Good stop there by Lighthall, and that shot goes nowhere. Spalding, good chance there. Lighthall picking off that attempt, that kick from Kenworthy. Just couldn't make anything of it. That ball pushed towards the near sideline. Racing to try and keep it in is Fernandez. She does, and she immediately gets stonewalled by Ellie Trentman. Good pick there by Trentman. Able to read that ball perfectly. As now she's going to try and set something up. Good kick away by Kenworthy. Gets pushed to the ground. No whistles blown, so it'll be a throw-in coming up here for Spalding.
It's interesting to see overall how Spalding's defense can go from being so suffocating, and then the spacing turns out to be beautiful when they're on the offensive side. You can see they're running the pitch really well without any issues. No pressure whatsoever on many occasions from the Cougars.
This is a Spalding team who, you know, despite both coaches, Garza for the Cougars and then Jordan Vahey for the Eagles, both being their third year, this is a Spalding team who looks a little bit more experienced, Dave, and maybe it's because they do have a couple older players, especially in the starting lineup, but this is also a team who they went to the NCAA tournament last year, like lost 3-0 to Calvin in the first round, but still just that pedigree of not only winning the St. Louis Intercollegiate Athletic Conference last season, making it to the tournament, winning the tournament, and then, of course, getting that experience in the NCAA. You know, winning the NCAA or not, it's just it does a lot for a team to get that experience under their belt.
Definitely. It's so much easier to find success when you've already dealt with the experience side and you've seen success before. You know how to replicate it and what it looks like overall. Whereas when you're looking at a team like the Cougars who haven't necessarily seen the success that they're hoping for in years past, and they got to try and find the overall equation and figure out what it looks like on their own path.
Cougars have finished 10th in the Northern Athletic Collegiate Conference both years under Coach Eddie Garza. Last season they compiled a 3-12-3 overall record, 4-7-2 in conference play. The additional win in conference play was due to a forfeit from Alverno College, which is why they have one more conference win than they do total wins. A little confusing on paper, but what happens when you get a forfeit in conference play? Cougars were in the conference contention for the conference tournament, up until the last game of the season. They dropped at that season finale right down the street at Dominican University. That completely knocked them out of playoff contention. So, Dave, this was a team who, despite finishing 2 spots out of a playoff spot last year, they were in it to the very end of the season. And Coach Garza has talked about that kind of being hopefully a spark for this team of, hey, we were, 1 goal, 2 goals away from making the conference tournament for the first time in his tenure. That they're going to try to use that this year to finally propel themselves into that NAC tournament come season's end.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think the name of the game is trying to play as much meaningful soccer as possible. Last thing you want to be doing is at the end of the season playing games that aren't going to count for anything. But at the end of the day, potentially the not making the tournament could change the way that they treated the offseason. Maybe they're showing up a little bit hungrier than they were last year, as they were probably frustrated by not making the tournament.
They were also picked 10th in the preseason poll this year as well. So if that actually comes to fruition, it will be 4 straight 10th place seasons for Coach Garza during his reign. And as I mentioned, he thinks that this team is capable of making that playoff push just like they did last year. The key difference being that they actually make the conference tournament this year rather than just being a goal or two short as they were last season. As Spalding kicks it in from mid-pitch, this ball is going to go all the way down and out. Stays within the flags, so it will be a goal kick coming up here from Brooke Sheriff and the Cougars. Yes, Sheriff sets up the ball. Spalding putting some really good pressure here offensively on the Cougars defense, as we haven't seen the Cougars have a good possession down in Spalding's end of the pitch in quite a while now. This ball knocked out. Last touch by Trentman in black and blue. So throw-in coming up here for the Cougars. They dish it back to Kenworthy, as Kenworthy quickly got cornered by Lighthall, and that's going to be a turnover for the Cougars, as that ball knocked out of the box by, I believe that was Valeria Fernandez. Got the last kick on it. Throw-in coming up here right at the 35-yard line for Ellie Trentman. We are just about 15 minutes into this first half of play. Home opener for CUC women's soccer. CUC men's soccer will have their home opener and season opener as well later today. That is scheduled for a 3 p.m. start. Of course, it is dependent on how long this game takes to completely wrap up.
Yeah, and as we kind of get ourselves towards that 15-minute mark, you start to see some of the Cougar bench getting warm, ready to get some fresh legs in the game.
Yeah, and this is a Cougars bench who Coach Garza heavily utilized last game, as he played just about every single one of his players. If my math is correct, there are just about 4 Cougars on this roster who did not appear in Friday's contest against Augustana. So this was a bench that Coach Garza used a lot of on Friday in that 4-0 loss to Augustana, as Bosch, for the first time in what seems like forever, has to make a play. She kicks it out, and now we're going to get a whistle blown on CUC. So free kick coming up here for Spalding on their own end of the pitch.
Yeah, I think when we go back to speaking about that bench a little bit, I think the tough part too is as Coach Garza is still trying to find that winning formula. What kind of players have developed a strong chemistry with each other, and as it's only the second game of the season, home opener, they're not quite sure what that looks like, especially with that mix of age in the roster overall. So that's kind of what we're looking for.
And this is not a senior-heavy team whatsoever, even in terms of upperclassmen in general. You look at the starting lineup, you see junior, grad student, as this ball makes its way to Sheriff. She comes out to make the play. Thought about rushing it, instead she's going to hold back and just try and make a safe play here as she'll get ready for a kick. But again, that starting lineup, Sheriff a junior, you got Allie Brown a grad student, then you have sophomore, you have another junior, senior, but then you got a freshman, another freshman, one senior, a sophomore, and then a senior and a freshman. So pretty much a 50-50 mix just about of your upperclassmen versus your underclassmen in the starting lineup. And then, of course, you get into the bench and you see a lot of those younger names waiting for their chance. This is, again, a team who brought in 14 new faces to the roster this year. As here's a good ball movement by Ellie Trentman. Tries to put the brakes on as she loses control. So good pressure there by the sophomore, Izzy Fairless, out of Royal Oak, Michigan. Fairless did appear in 277 minutes last season as a freshman, also on the track and field team here at Concordia University Chicago. So A bit of a speed boost there for the Cougars with the track and field athlete and Fairless. As that ball tried to be centered, Kenworthy right there with the boot to make it go out of bounds. Spalding will control it, but CUC able to stop the centering kick before it got anywhere into dangerous territory.
Looks like the Eagles will be getting their first sub of the day.
So it looks like making her way off is Carolina Lighthall. And still trying to get a beat on who's coming on. I believe that is at number 4, which is Alyssa Uxner. Uxner, a freshman for Spalding out of Floyd's Knobs, Indiana. So Coach Jordan Vehar, the first to make a managerial decision with his lineups, as we do see a couple players with their pennies in their hands by Coach Garza, so maybe a couple subs coming up here for CUC when they get a chance. As Brooke Sheriff gets set for a goal kick, no subs yet. And of course, as I say that, we have a whistle, and we will have our first CUC sub. So Fairless, just talking about the dual sport athlete here at CUC. She makes her way off, grabs the penny from the oncoming player. As we wait to get her jersey number, it is at number 10. That is Michelle Morecki, a freshman out of Lombard. So Illinois product coming on the field for Coach Garza. Morecki made her collegiate debut on Friday at Augustana. 51 minutes of action, so well over half the game Morecki spent as she tries to receive the ball from Fernandez, but Fernandez gets fought off the ball. Now controlling it was Dodson, who she hands it off to the far side for Livingston, and he's going to be a shot, misses left of the goal. So Sheriff not need to make a save on that. She'll now get set for a goal kick, and we'll have another CUC substitution. Quetzale Ortega Vasquez will make her way off the field, and coming on as we wait for the jersey number, believe that is number 4, which will be Maya Hirayama, product from all the way out in Hawaii, so making the very long journey to the Midwest.
Yeah, interesting to see what Coach Garza's pipeline looks like for the recruiting overall, if he's able to stretch it all the way over there to Hawaii.
Yeah, he's got a couple California products, players like Brooke Sheriff from Simi Valley, also just skating the roster. I see Natalie Flores from Placentia, California as well. And so Garza going even further west than California to Hawaii, as this ball is going to go all the way out the end of the pitch on Spalding's side. So goal kick coming up here for Olivia Bosch. But you look at where Coach Garza's been pulling from, mostly Illinois names on the Cougars roster, which makes sense. A lot of these small schools do pull from in-state. Spalding, most of their products are from Kentucky. But then you also see California's. You do see a Kentucky, one Mexico, Luciana Moran Cruz here on the Cougars, St. Louis, Missouri, Hawaii, Nevada, Michigan, another Nevada, Virginia. So it is always, you're right, Dave, kind of interesting to see coaches where exactly they like to pull from, as it's kind of hard to tell from Coach Garza outside of Illinois. He seems to be able to pull from just about anywhere. You got your West Coasts like your Californias, you got an East Coast like your Virginia, so a little bit of everything on this Cougars roster.
Definitely.
As Allie Brown controls it now. She's from the state just south of Illinois, Missouri, as she loses that one. Brown, 4-year member of the team as a senior last year, decided to come back as a grad student. So she is playing in her 5th season. Part of one of the classes, I think if I'm correct, I think it should be the last class who benefited is a weird term to use, but from the COVID, the additional years that players got because of the COVID years.
Yeah, definitely. It's an interesting concept overall, but it makes you wonder how some of these teams benefit or not necessarily benefit from the situation. But there's definitely a handful of teams that I would like to say are providing a lot more experience with that grad program overall. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, they're able to bring in 5th years, be able to bring back even 6 years in some cases. So as, strange and tough the situation was, as we look now, 4 or 5 years down the road, we are still seeing the effects of it. And sometimes that can be a positive effects for teams, like having older players such as Allie Brown able to come back for their 5th year, their 6th year, whatever it may be.
Definitely. It makes you wonder what it's going to look like next year and down the road once that kind of gets phased out overall, as you said earlier. Oh, wow.
There's a good save by Brooke Sheriff. It was a tough angle shot. I can't tell if that was going in the goal or not, but Sheriff able to get her hands on it and make sure it wasn't going in the goal. So nice save there by Brooke Sheriff. That will...
Great play to keep it at 0-0 overall right now.
It will be her first save on the season. She failed to record one in her 10 minutes of action against Augustana on Friday. As now we get a corner kick for the Golden Eagles. And it will be Jalen Dodson doing the honors. Another grad student, this time on Spalding side out of Cincinnati. As her corner kick heading towards the center of the goal. And there's a header, and it is almost in the goal. Another shot blocked. And the ball's still in the box, and Allie Brown finally able to kick it out. A very, what could have been unfortunate series of event for the Cougars.
What an exciting scenario that would have been. Wow, what a play overall on the defensive side by all the Cougars.
There's a defender in the goal. I failed to catch the number. She kept it. It looked like it was on the goal line. She kept it out, and then Spalding had another shot, and it was blocked by another Cougar defender. So Spalding, they had to be within inches of scoring the first goal in today's game. Again, from our point of view, that first shot kind of trickled past Sheriff and looked like it was on the goal line. And yet somehow through 2 strong defensive plays, CUC able to keep this game at 0-0. As that ball is going to go out. Last touch by Spalding. Macy Rollins not able to catch it. And, Dave, that was kind of our first really good shot at a goal we saw. We had this shot earlier that Sheriff saved. Again, it was kind of a tough angle shot, but that was really our first high-quality scoring chance either team got. And it'll be interesting to see who really gets momentum from that. Will it be Spalding, who came within inches of scoring goal number 1 of the game, or will it be the Cougars, who had some really strong defensive play to keep that ball out of the net?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but at the end of the day, that's a great defensive showing by the Cougars, but they're eventually going to have to push it to the offensive side of the pitch if they want any chance of winning this game. As the keeper for Spalding, Bosch, hasn't really even had to touch the ball at all today so far.
No, she's had a couple kicks, but she's not had to make any saves. She hasn't even faced any shot, period. Cougars, no shots on goal, no shots in general. As we get a sub here for Spalding, as that'll be Faith Rutherford, another grad student in this game, heading off and coming onto the field. A fresh face for Coach Vehar and the Eagles. As here's Trentman trying to put the moves on Marecki. And Marecki able to come up with the ball. Gets it to Allie Brown. Brown now, she'll just try and launch this one down. Give her forwards a chance to do something, but Spalding gets to the ball first as Brown tries to push Uxner off the ball. Unable to do so, as CUC trying to get possession here. They do with Allie Brown. All bounces off over a couple heads, as Spalding gets it right at mid-pitch. They'll send this one down. Cougars racing for it, as it'll be Julissa Diaz gets there first. She loses it, ball goes out. Last touch will be on Spalding. So goal kick coming up here for Sheriff and the Cougars. As here's Sheriff, her kick. It's a little pass to her right for, that's Elliot Wheelock, number 24 in white. 14 new faces on this Cougars roster. As handling the ball now is Trinity Bowens.
Definitely a little lull in the action overall, but it seems like the ball is continuously staying on the defensive side of the pitch for the Cougars. And just as I say that, we cross
mid-pitch, ball kicked out by Livingston, so Cougars will have a throw-in here. This has been their deepest throw-in into Spalding territory in quite a while, as that was Fernandez trying to find Cazares as a header from Spalding knocks it out. As Fernandez, another throw in, this ball going out, and we'll get our first corner kick for CUC today as they just hand it off. And now they'll try a centering kick, and that ball knocked over the goal. Last touch by Macy Rollins. So we'll get another corner kick for CUC. And again, they try the little handoff pass. That centering pass goes nowhere. As here's Saldivar, another header from Spalding. As Spalding finally able to clear it over mid-pitch. Kenworthy, the only Cougar in the vicinity. I believe she'll just shield this ball and, in fact, assist it in getting it to her keep in Brooke Sheriff, who sends it over to no one as it goes out of bounds. Well, maybe a miscue there from Sheriff, Dave. It looked like she's expecting a defender on her left side, and as I mentioned, no one was there, so it just rolled out of bounds.
Yeah, I got to assume some sort of lack of communication overall, as we're going to get some more subs here.
A couple more subs, and I do want to talk about the corners because, you know, as they're not goals, they're not assists, they're not shots, but corners are just as pivotal to offenses as those other stats, Dave. The ability to really have a good chance at centering the ball for your offense. And the Cougars, you know, they struggled in this regard last year. 62 total corners on the season. That was 9th in the conference. Meanwhile, Spalding, they sat at 92 corners. That was 2nd in the SLIAC. So you see that, you know, the underlying correlation is that corners lead to more offense.
Definitely.
The ability to easily center that ball, and that's something I'm sure the Cougars want to see more of, is getting those good centering chances from corners.
Yeah, it honestly just kind of shows that they're spending simply more possession time on the offensive side overall with their balls going out of bounds down there. And that you bring up the Spalding's numbers in comparison to their conference. It's a clear showing as to why they won that conference last year as well, as it's just part of being a good offensive team.
Well, the Cougars do lead Spalding in corners right now. 2 for CUC, 1 for the visiting Eagles. And no one really has anything to show of it. Spalding does have 3 shots on goal. Cougars with no shots in general, though maybe that'll change here as racing ahead. Here's a shot and a goal for CUC! And in the blink of an eye, Cougars go from no shots in general to a 1-0 lead. First shot of the day, first shot on goal of the day, and it leads to a CUC goal. They are up 1-0.
What a beautiful play right there. Just running coast to coast almost. I mean, wow.
Yeah, that was the freshman Jennifer Reyna, number 19, with the goal. Her first career shot on goal, and she is shooting 100% so far in her career. You might just want to stop the count now and say that you left as a 100% career shooter.
Yeah, that might not be able to stay consistent with that through the career, but what a great start to it.
Jennifer Reyna, freshman out of Rochester, Minnesota, went to Mayo High School. And, Dave, that just goes to show how quickly this game can change. I was literally just talking about the Cougars. They had no shots on goal. They looked like they were really struggling to get anything going on Spalding's end of the pitch. And, you know, less than a couple seconds after I was done talking about that, CUC puts up their first shot, their first goal of the game. Just goes to show how fast momentum can shift in this game.
Definitely. Almost makes you wonder if the broadcaster jinx is a real thing at all right there. Helping the Cougs out.
Might have to talk more about any Cougar struggles to see if that provides any more Cougar positives. It does in that case, and because of it, CUC 1-0 lead, less than 14 minutes to go here in the first half.
You got to wonder how this Spalding team is going to respond from that. I mean, you got to assume they've found themselves down in multiple situations last year, and they still found a lot of success. So you have to imagine they're going to be coming back. They're not going to shy away from it at all.
And if their numbers from last year are anything to go by, this is, a very good defensive team. They allowed just 1.16 goals per game. That was fourth best in their conference. So by that numbers, CUC has gotten their one goal that Spalding usually gave up last season. So now it turns to the CUC defense to at least hold this. Of course, you want your offense to keep going, but as this ball is going to make its way all the way to Sheriff, she grabs it right up against her chest for the snag and will now get set to move her team down the other way. The defense was not the struggle for CUC last year, Dave. 23 goals against. That was fourth least in the conference, a 1.28 goals against average. That was the fourth lowest mark in the conference as well. And yes, there is going to be a shift in the goalie playing time with last year's primary starter no longer on the roster, but this just goes to show that, yes, the offense really struggled last year, but Coach Garza really did have something going defensively for that team, and hopefully that can continue into this season.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main thing, too, is just keep applying pressure. We talked about it earlier. Obviously, sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and if the Cougars are able to maintain that and almost show like a different side, turn over a new leaf, and maybe start utilizing that offense more, it could lead to a lot of great things.
There's a throw-in from Spalding, and now a whistle blows. And I believe we'll be having a free kick coming out for Spalding. We will, as this is a good position for the Eagles. They are in the end zone, if you're looking at this as a football field. Now, kind of a tough angle in terms of how almost even they are with the net, but this is about their closest free kick, that we've seen all day. So good chance for Spalding to maybe get something going as the referee backs up the Cougars' three-man wall in front of the free kick. As it'll come off the foot of Uxner. That shot blocked by Brooke Sheriff. Good save there by number 00. And that ball gets pushed all the way. Brooke Sheriff making save number 3 on the day as she keeps this score 1-0 in favor of her squad. She's not going to be able to save that ball, though. Last touch by CUC, so now a corner kick coming here for the Eagles.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how Spalding decides to stack the box in these kind of corner kicks. You've seen it a little bit before. They kind of have a different style as compared to Concordia. Concordia kind of likes to just pass it back and play, whereas it looks like Spalding likes to end the possession right here, right now, with either a goal or a no goal.
Much more traditional corner kick strategy as this ball, a header. Don't know if anyone made contact as now it's going for the other sideline. Getting there to stop it is number 10. That is Layla Saliovic. As ball goes out, last touch by CUC. So throw in for the Eagles here. And that ball goes out the end of the pitch. Last touch by Saliovic. So goal kick coming up here for Sheriff as we have less than 10 minutes to go here. First half of action. Cougars hosting the Eagles in the 2024 CUC Women's Soccer Home Opener. Looking for their first win of the year after their loss in the season opener on Friday at Augustana. As so far they have the 1-0 lead, and that ball is going to go out. Goal kick coming up here. Good body there from Fernandez, able to muscle Trentman off the ball. Here is Sheriff. Sheriff kicks it over to Kenworthy, and Kenworthy trying to get it near sideline. Fernandez looked like she's just a step behind the ball there. So she won't be able to grab it. So throw in coming up here for the Eagles. That ball goes out of bounds again. Throw in once more for the Eagles. Here is Trentman. As Trentman puts this one towards the net, and Sheriff plays it off the hop. I don't know if that'll go down as a shot on goal or not, but Sheriff made it look easy, as now she's going to try and catch her breath, let her defense catch their breath as well.
Yeah, it really looks like Sheriff's starting to find a groove in the goal box there. Overall, it looks like you got to wonder why she was pulled so early in their last contest, considering she's looked really smooth over there today.
Yeah, we didn't. Looking at the box score that we received from Augustana, it didn't give a certain reason if it was just a decision by Coach Garza, if maybe it was injury related, but whatever it was, Sheriff has dispelled any worries that might have come from it. 4 saves so far on the day for the junior out of Simi Valley, California. No goals allowed as of yet, as now she will get set for another goal kick. And even though she didn't play the majority of minutes in goal for CUC last year, still very impressive, a 900 save percentage, which led the team. As now she will get a chance as by far the senior member of the goalie tandem, Sheriff a junior, and the only other goalie in the roster, Kate Wagner, who appeared in that Friday game, her first collegiate game. She's a freshman, as there's a CUC player. That was Hirayama. She spent a good, decent amount of time on the turf. She's able to pick herself back up and get back to it. That ball handled by Itzel Calderon. First time we've mentioned the senior's name tonight, as this ball just going to be worked and shielded as it goes out the end of the pitch by number 22, Clara Andrews. So goal kick coming up here for Olivia Bosch.
Yeah, it looked almost for a certain bit of time that CC was just kind of trying to bleed out the clock until halftime. But this is you finally get to see it back on that side of the pitch. Perhaps maybe they're not done scoring yet.
Yeah, and that's where CC could run into troubles potentially, as this ball is cleared out by Spalding. You have a good defense just based on what this team last year. You have a talented goalkeeper in Brooke Sheriff who's playing really well, as Spalding might have something here. This ball is going to be rolled towards Sheriff as she scoops it up, so that will curb any offensive attack. But this is a good defense for CUC, but you don't want to get complacent. I mean, it's the same as any other sport. When you have a 1-run lead, a 1-goal lead, a 1-point lead, whatever it may be, 1-possession lead, you want to just keep adding on. You want to get more goals so that you don't have as much pressure on your defense, on your goalkeeper, so they can make a mistake here or there, maybe give up a goal and still be okay. So that's where we're going to really have to see this Cougars offense kind of step up. Yes, you got your first goal, but let's keep piling it on so the defense doesn't feel as much pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
You see that ball, but booted out towards the Spalding bench. And it'll be last touch by the Eagles, so CUC will get control of it. Throw in coming here for the Cougars. And that throw goes right to an Eagle, as CUC spending some time down on the Eagles' half of the pitch. See what they can do with it, as taking control and kicking it up the near sideline was Madison Dietzick. And ball goes out. Last touch by CUC. Throwing coming up here for the Eagles, who have put some good offensive pressure on the Cougars. 5 shots on goal, 6 shots in total, but just not able to make anything happen because of it. And we kind of saw that yesterday as well, Dave. This was a Eagles team. They had 30 total shots in yesterday's game. They only got 1 goal out of it. And obviously they still won the game at the end of the day. But you look at, you got 30 shots. How'd you only get 1 goal? We're kind of seeing the same story here today. They have 6 shots, 5 on goal. They are, decimating the Cougars in that stat category. And yet they're on the losing end of a 1-0 score.
Yeah, it's sometimes a weird game how that works out, where they're doing everything right, just not putting it in the back of the net.
And a reason for that is Brooke Sheriff. She scoops up the ball there. She has 4 saves on the day. able to keep that ball out of the net as we are less than 3.5 minutes away from the halftime intermission. And Sheriff kicks this one up right there to try and receive it was Morecki. She's unable to do so. Throw in by Spalding, playing with a little bit of urgency here. They know they only have about 3 minutes to try and find an equalizer before we head to halftime. As teams always want to go into halftime tied or winning, especially when it's only a one-goal game. As here comes CUC along with Valeria Fernandez. Fernandez the throw into Morecki, and racing for it was a pair of players, one blue, one white jersey colors as this ball goes out. Last touch on CUC, and now it's being reversed. It'll be CUC ball. The referee on the near sideline waited a couple seconds to make the call. She even conversed with the referee who's actually in the pitch.
Yeah, it looked like she was just looking for a little bit of confirmation overall, seeing if there was an extra touch.
So it was overturned, but CUC's possession goes to nowhere. Here's the throw-in coming up for Spalding. It will be Ellie Trentman as we get the 2-minute warning over the PA system. So Spalding less than 2 minutes to try and get an equalizer. Cougars less than 2 minutes to maybe add some offensive insurance or keep this at a 1-0 lead heading into halftime. There's a ball sent in by Clara Andrews. And ball sent over to Morecki for CUC, able to get the turnover. Morecki fighting for it. She loses it. And that ball blocked by Kenworthy as Spalding. They might have something going here, and Kenworthy trips up. Excuse me, that was not Kenworthy, but no whistle. That was Ellie Wheelock who tripped up, number 14 in blue, Melanie Frick. And that looked like we were going to get a whistle for sure, but referee swallowing the whistles, letting them play on. Play amping up a little here in terms of physicality as we hit the 1 minute mark left in the first half.
Yeah, you start to see him playing a little more physically overall, as you said. Makes you wonder what kind of adjustments or what kind of advice the coach is going to be giving him in the halftime if they're seeing that you can play a little bit more free than usual.
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton of calls here at all today. 4 fouls in total, all of which have been called on CUC. Looked like number 5 was almost a certainty there, but the referees letting the players play on as that centering kick goes nowhere. Ball is still about even with the goal as it now.
Smart play there with only 20 seconds left. Just kind of drain the clock out here.
Almost looked like it crossed the end line of the pitch, but someone was able to keep it in. Now throw in as here's a ball that's sent over and left of the net as we get the 5-second countdown over the PA system. I don't think Sheriff's even going to try to put this one in play. She won't, and that'll do it for the first 45 minutes of action. First home game here at CUC of the 2024-25 school year, and right now the CUC women's soccer team holds a 1-0 advantage over Spalding University. So the teams are going to take a break. We're going to take a break as one. When we come back on the Cougar Sports Network, we'll have the final 45 minutes of regulation. Cougars looking for their first win of the year. Spalding looking for a comeback and win number 2 in as many days. We'll see what we get when we're back here on the Cougar Sports Network in just a minute.
Chicago is a Christ-centered Lutheran university where truth, freedom, and vocation form students for lives of influence and service for the common good. Our university offers a wide variety of undergraduate and graduate degree options that are available in person and online. That means we have a program designed for you. Whether you're a high school student, an adult returning to complete your degree, or someone looking to enhance your credentials and prepare for career growth. As a member of this university community, you'll also find support in your spiritual and personal life so you can grow in the faith and discover ways to serve others. To start your next journey with us, visit cuchicago.edu today.
Check, check, check.
Back here at Concordia Stadium on the campus of Concordia University Chicago, and your Concordia University Chicago Cougars women's soccer team currently hold a 1-0 advantage over the women's soccer team of Spalding University in Kentucky. The Eagles, Peter Borkowski here on the Cougar Sports Network, joined once again by Dave Dimeling. And Dave, something you mentioned at the top of the broadcast was Spalding's defense bending but not breaking, especially in the early goings of that game. CUC had a lot of offensive time, weren't able to break through, and as much as that applied to Spalding, I think it's applying to the Cougars just as much here. You look at the box score, Spalding's outshooting the Cougars. They're outshooting them in terms of shots on goal. They have just as many corners. They have less fouls. They are outplaying the Cougars a lot in the stat book. But the Cougars' defense, they're bending, but they're not breaking. They hold that 1-0 lead.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of looks like Spalding overall is just playing a way more fundamentally sound game. I mean, it might come off as sounding a little bit disrespectful, but if you're Spalding and you're in that locker room, you got to be wondering, was that one shot on goal that the Cougars got that scored that goal, was that just a one lucky fluke kind of deal as opposed to what Spalding's offense has been trying to do the whole time? And it almost seems like they're overdue to put one through the net as they're kind of just firing them off continuously.
Well, and a big reason that they haven't put one in the net yet is the goalkeeper for CUC, Brooke Sheriff. Again, only 10 minutes played in the season opener on Friday in the 4-0 loss to Augustana. She only gave up one of those goals, but she's come here today all 45 minutes of that first half, and she looked absolutely phenomenal, perfect on the day so far in the save category.
Yeah, I think she's really starting to find herself in a good spot overall. You could tell, too, it could be a little, for personal reasons, is like wanting to play more minutes overall, not being a little nervous about losing the starting role to that freshman. So you're playing for the team, of course, but also everybody wants to play in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sheriff, the junior, as compared to Caitlin Wagner, the freshman who relieved her after 10 minutes on Friday. Wagner came in, let up 3 goals, made 5 saves, and Coach Garza trusting his older upperclassmen in today's game, and Sheriff proved him right in that first half. Perfect 5 for 5 in the save category. Her opponent, Olivia Bosch, who came in as a senior, has a little bit more pedigree than both Sheriff and Wagner, with her now 21 combined games played during her career. She's so far 0 for 1 in the save category. But as Dave said, that was the Cougars. I mean, that was their only shot on goal. So you got to wonder, all right, how much of that goal was this is good CUC offense, or and how much of it was, hey, they got a good break on offense. It was an excellent play by number 19, Jennifer Reyna of CUC. Not disrespecting anything that she did or what the Cougars did, but for Spalding, they got to be wondering, like, all right, the Cougars got their break, they got their goal, they got through our tough defense. When does that chance come for us now? We thought we saw it with that play about halfway through the first half where they had the ball on the goal line for CUC, and a CUC defender able to knock it out before it trickled over the goal line. So Spalding, they kind of had their lucky break. It just didn't fall for them. Now we have to see what can they bring in these last 45 minutes compared to CUC.
Yeah, you can tell, too, even before the half starts, it looks like CUC just looks a little bit looser, They might have been a little uptight at the start, considering it's the home opener overall, but you could tell they're definitely feeling themselves a little bit more excited, got the juices flowing, and that might be all that it takes for them to go on a streak.
Yeah, CUC, as Dave said, just looks like they're having a bit more fun on that sideline. And, obviously every team wants to be competitive. Every team wants to win. But these are two different teams coming into today's game. On Spalding's side, you have a team who made a run to the NCAA tournament last year, won the SLIAC tournament, won the conference tournament, and then lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, versus a Cougars team who's looking to make the conference tournament, period, for the first time under Coach Garza. And so maybe some differences in that mindset of coming in. Spalding, obviously pressure's high for everyone, but Spalding has that pedigree of being a team who's been there. They've done that. CUC, kind of this younger team, third-year head coach who's looking to make his mark on the program and get them into the conference tournament for the first time during his tenure. as head coach of the Cougars, as we have just about 34 seconds left to go before we resume play here at Concordia Stadium. And Dave, I just kind of want you to lay it out here. What does CUC need to do to complete this win? Right, they took them a while last season to get their first win of the year. So for this season, to be able to get it in game number 2 in your first home game would be a huge confidence boost for this Cougar squad. What do they need to do in these final 45 minutes to make it happen?
I mean, there's definitely, it might not be easy, but you could say it's pretty simple overall. You can't afford to be complacent in any way. Obviously, you're up 1-0. You won the first half of the day, but last time I checked, the game's not over at the end of the first half. You got to play a full 90 minutes, and at the end of the day, they're still going against an elite program with Spalding over there, and they got to remember that this isn't going to be an easy opponent in any way.
That is very true. This is a CUC team who you kind of have this feeling it's going to take more than one goal to make it happen. And as we saw with CUC's goal, as we saw with Spalding's almost goal, anything can happen in a blink of an eye. Some player can get a good break down the field. The ball can somehow trickle past a group of bodies and into the goal. Anything can happen. So for CUC, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Dave, of not being complacent. Of we got that 1-0 lead. Let's make it a 2-goal lead. Let's make it a 3-goal lead. Let's make it a 4-goal lead. Let's just keep piling it on, and that'll take the pressure off our defense as well, that they don't have to be absolutely perfect today if they don't have to be.
Definitely. I think at the end of the day, it's not about winning the game. It's about dominating your opponent, and I think that's kind of what they need to start going for.
So we get ready to resume play. The players each take the field from both squads as CUC will now be attacking left to right on your screen. Wow, Spalding, they will be going right to left. As we get a break here, Malika Kenworthy helping her goalkeeper, Brooke Sheriff, tie her cleats up. Always got to be aware of player safety out there. Make sure the cleats are tied up as Sheriff now enters net, and we'll get ready to go. CUC will start with the ball as they kick it off to their own end of the pitch. And we're underway here. Less than 45 minutes to go in regulation. CUC, a 1-0 lead over the Spalding Eagles. Can they hold on? Can they add some insurance, or will Spalding look like the NCAA tournament team they were last year and at least tie this one up? Maybe even take the lead. 45 minutes to go as ball knocked out of bounds off CUC. Throwing coming up here for Madison Dietzick. She had the assist on Spalding's lone goal in yesterday's win over Rockford. As this ball kicked towards the middle of the pitch, no one there except a blue and black jersey with Ellie Trentman. As that ball almost centered, ball still loose. CUC able to keep it from the end line, and now he'll be a centering ball kicked away by CUC defender as that ball is going to go out in front of the Spalding bench. Throwing coming up here for Faith Rutherford and the Eagles. I believe that was number 24, Ellie Wheelock, who kicked it out for CUC. Now we're going to throw in coming here for the Cougars as they work with it near far sideline, right in front of the Spalding bench.
Yeah, it looks like the Cougars are having a tough time threading the needle between that ever so suffocating defense that Spalding's come out with in the second half.
Ball popped up, and now one-on-one fight for it. It ends up being Spalding's ball. Getting set for the throw-in is Ellie Trentman. They're going to reverse it from the initial call. It'll be a Cougar throw-in. Trentman picked it up and then had to hand it over to a white jersey as now Cougars get the ball back. Another throw-in. This ball header right back to the spot it was thrown in. CUC works with it now. Kenworthy kicks it down. Now that ball hit back towards mid-pitch as Pamela Saldivar trying to fight for it. Looks like she got tied up by her defender. Saldivar, the lone Cougar last game on Friday to play in all 90 minutes of action. It was a game where Coach Garza got almost all of his bench in, yet Saldivar was the one constant for CUC. As Kenworthy works it back up the far sideline. Good pressure there from Trentman and Spalding. As now the ball worked back towards CUC net. Good pickoff there by Wheelock as she'll send it down. And sending it right back to the Cougars was Macy Rollins. Ball kicked out, however. So CUC will get possession as the two squads move down the pitch. Olivia Bosch still in net for the Eagles. And she's allowed one goal on one shot faced. No saves yet today for the senior out of Lawrenceburg, Indiana, as that ball saved from going out for a second by Wheelock. And at the end, it did go out. And now we got a whistle here. Let's see what the call is. I believe they called a foul on Spalding, which means CUC will get a free kick right at the 15-yard line. As Kenworthy's kick stays on the ground. Works its way to Saldivar, who works it all the way over back to Kenworthy. Kenworthy up the near sideline. That ball still kept in. Picking it off was Spalding, and now this ball trickles around. Ball's still loose. Everybody fighting for it. Ball popped up by Wheelock. As a attempt there by Alani Frick was blocked by a Cougar, so it goes nowhere. And now CUC hopes to get some momentum going the other way. It's been all Spalding through 5 minutes of action here in the second half as this ball goes out of bounds. Last touch going to be issued to Spalding, so CUC possession here. Body hits the ground in the form of an eagle. Believe that was Faith Rutherford, name right.
Yeah, it looks like both teams are starting to get a little bit more aggressive as we continue on. A lot more physicality starting. You're starting to see a couple more fouls here and there.
Right now, CUC 4 fouls issued to CUC. 0 so far, 0 official fouls on Spalding. CUC up to 5 fouls now. Turn that one from Fernandez. Meanwhile, Sheriff boots the ball up. It's right over mid-pitch. Ball goes out. Last touch from the Cougars. So throwing coming up here for Madison Dietzick, as this ball will go out off the chest of Layla Selihovic. So we'll get another throw-in, this time courtesy of the Cougars. Throw-in coming from number 26. That is Presley Alvarado, freshman out of Oxnard, California. And this is her first career appearance. Did not appear on Friday. One of the 4 names to not appear on Friday against Augustana. So number 26 in white making her collegiate debut here. As the ball works towards the sideline. Everyone's fighting for it, and speeding ahead with it is Bowens. Trinity Bowen, she's got space to work with. She's got Alvarado and Brown right on her back. She hands it off. Frick puts a move on her defender and a shot. Save by Brooke Sheriff.
Sheriff taking care of business yet again. She's starting to, as I talked about a little bit earlier at the halftime part, she's really starting to feel comfortable in the crease overall, and it definitely is helping the cause for the Cougs.
Yeah, that save Sheriff made it look about as textbook as possible. Tracked the ball, landed right at her feet, and just fell on top of it for what'll be save number 5 for Sheriff. It'll actually be save number 6 once our stats update. So Brooke Sheriff, it will be save number 6. She's looked absolutely excellent in net so far. Has made some routine saves like that one there. Has made some spectacular diving saves. She's done a bit of it all. And that's what Coach Garza wants to see out of his third-year goalie. As now a collision, and now he'll get a whistle. A collision between Jennifer Reyna, the goal scorer today, and the Eagle, who is now just getting up, Madison Diedzik. Looked like she might have hit her head. The whistle was blown on Spalding. So even though Diedzik was the one who ended up on the ground for a longer duration of time, it was actually Diedzik who committed the foul. Kind of insult to injury there.
Yeah, it looked a little shaken up there, but she seems to be fine now.
Sophomore out of Frankfort, Illinois. Went to Lincoln Way East High School. And not only did she get a little banged up, she got the whistle blown on her as well. Now this ball popped up. There'll be a one-on-one race, and now another whistle will blow. And I believe this time it'll be on the Cougars. It will be, so goal kick coming up here for Bosch. That foul on Diedzik, by the way, Spalding's first foul of the game. So this has been a very disciplined team under Coach Vehar. And now another whistle blows, so we'll get a free kick coming up here for Spalding, just on their side of the pitch, about the 41-yard mark. You want to use the football field for reference.
Yeah, it's starting to look like the refs are really enjoying blowing the whistle a lot more compared to the first half.
Yeah, we've already seen a higher pace of whistles blown as this centering kick is going to go right into the hands of Brooke Sheriff. Falls on it for a second to gain control, and now she'll get her team moving the other way. But yeah, I think that is a really good point, Dave. The refs are starting to blow it a little bit more. Call a couple more fouls here and there, and maybe it's also because the players are getting more physical. We saw things get a little chippy towards the end of the first half, so maybe the referees kind of caught on to that, and during halftime, you know, whether they actually decided it together or not, said, all right, we got to start watching for this physical play, because we are seeing more stoppages already in the first 10-plus minutes of this half than we really did in most of that first half, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, of course, as a ref, you want to let the women play the game. It's not about you, but at the same point, you got to make sure it's a fair game overall. I think they're starting to control the game overall a little bit better.
Especially in a contest like this, 1-0 game for the Cougars. You have two highly competitive teams looking to make some noise this year. A team coming off an NCAA tournament appearance in Spalding, and a team in the Cougars who were on the verge of making the conference tournament last year. So these two teams hungry because of their different levels of success last year. So it's not going to be surprising to see the players get a little chippier as this game goes on and try to get a tough non-conference win here at the beginning of the season. Game number 2 for both of these teams. Cougars sitting at 0-1, Spalding sitting at 1-0. Cougars' first home game, Spalding their second road game in as many days. We're at Rockford University yesterday. Fellow NAC school with the Cougars. Beat the Regents 1-0 as they only allowed one shot on goal the entire day. CUC, they only have one shot on goal as well, but that one shot on goal happened to go in the goal, giving them that 1-0 lead as that ball goes out of bounds. Throw-in coming up here for the Eagles. And Presley Alvarado mentioned making her college debut. She is checked out of the game for Julissa Diaz. Diaz was a starter today for CUC. And she was also a starter in Friday's game. As Sheriff handles the ball, she's being pressured heavily by Faith Rutherford. Rutherford maybe trying to get under Sheriff's skin a little bit as Sheriff is just trying to find some free room, and Rutherford staying right in front of her. As that'll force Sheriff to kick a pop fly just to get it over Rutherford as the ball trickles all the way down out of bounds off the chest of Clara Andrews. So throwing coming up here for the Cougars. It is Diaz. Just checked back into the game and able to keep it in bounds was Cazares. Good move there. That ball looked destined for the track here at Concordia Stadium. Now, physical fight for the ball coming away from it with the ball is Frick. And now it'll be Selahovic who handled it for a second. Frick tried some fancy footwork and it worked. Selahovic had it for a second. CUC able to kick it out of there. And that ball will go all the way down and out over mid-pitch. So throw in here for Diedzik. And her throw-in, I don't know if the ball had some bad spin on it or what, but it didn't even look like it made it inbounds.
Yeah, I don't think it ever registered turf in play on that one.
So a tough break there for Diedzik, who between that and the foul she committed not too long ago, having a tough start to the second half as the ball with some airtime, a couple headers in a row, finally comes down. This ball is going to be kicked out of the goal box by the Cougars. That was Fernandez. And now racing forward, the ball is going to stop at the far sideline, excuse me. Now kicking it ahead are the Cougars. Is this ball going to stay in? It will not. It eventually trickles out of bounds past the Cougars bench, which means throw-in coming up here for the Eagles in their own half. And we are at the 30.5-minute mark.
Yeah, it might sound a little aggressive to think like this, but it almost in a way looks like CUC's starting to have the mindset of just roll, clock, roll. Just keep draining it off. And as I say that, they start pushing a little more.
Spalding quickly ends that attack, though, but, you know, this has been a half largely dominated by the Eagles. Cougars have not had any shot on goal, have not had any shot, period. Spalding's done a really good job of just controlling the pace of play, controlling possession, as the Cougars are desperately trying to get something going here on Spalding's half of the pitch. Meanwhile, you can see a flood of red polos walking in. That is Carthage's men's soccer team. They're taking on the Cougars men's squad at the back end of today's doubleheader. That game slated for a 3 p.m. start. Cougars opening up their season. Carthage ready for game number 2 of their year. Meanwhile, in the women's game, we do have a Cougar down on the field. I believe that is Saldivar. Can't quite catch the number. So we're going to take a break here as well while we hope Pamela Saldivar, everything is all right with her. It is her number 9. So we'll be back in a second on the Cougar Sports Network. 29:47 left to go here in regulation. Cougars a 1-0 lead over Spalding University. Don't go anywhere just yet. We'll be back on the Cougar Sports Network in just a second. Play about to resume here at Concordia Stadium. Pamela Saldivar has been helped off the turf. Hope everything is all right with the Cougars junior out of Chicago. Meanwhile, in the game, 29:47 left to go. Cougars grasping onto their 1-0 lead over Spalding as there's a deep kick from the Eagles. As the Cougars get possession at their own end of the pitch. Ball's loose. Ball's still bouncing around. Here come the Eagles now. This ball heading towards the corner. It's going to be a foot race and kicked out the end of the pitch by CUC's defender. So corner kick coming up for the Eagles. 0 for 2 on corners today in terms of making something happen out of it. See if they can find any success. Third time's a charm. Maggie Schultz has entered the game for CUC for Saldivar. As here's the corner from the Eagles. It's a good corner. A header goes nowhere. And Eagles, they put something up, and it is way over and way to the right of the net. That was Rutherford. Nowhere close to putting it on that shot.
Very unlikely for the grad student right there, Rutherford. Kind of just trying to force something up there. Makes you wonder if she's starting to get a little desperate as the clock still starts to trickle. Still plenty of time, though.
And we saw it was Rutherford who was kind of harassing Brooke Sheriff earlier in this half. Sheriff was trying to find some space for a goal kick, or not a goal kick, but to get the ball off, and Rutherford just stayed as close to Brooke Sheriff as she was allowed to, right outside the goal box. So Rutherford, the grad student, maybe, as Dave pointed out, getting a little frustrated that her Eagles, despite 10 shots, 8 of which have found their way to the goal, they are still looking for goal number 1 this Sunday afternoon. As here comes Trinity Bowens, Ball kicked towards the Cougars' end of the pitch, ball loose, and the only Cougar in proximity is Julissa Diaz. But now, here comes Frick with the Eagles. Frick deals it up ahead. Centering kick, and good play there by Diaz. Able to get her right foot in front of it. Now it's Clara Andrews. Andrews puts it towards the goal. Sheriff comes out to stop the ball. I believe that was curving right of the right pipe, so no threat, but Sheriff doing a good job of just snagging the ball, and would have been a goal kick anyway, so just keep play moving here as that header will roll all the way down and out. Last touch by an Eagle, so CUC with possession here.
Cougars finally kind of finding themselves on the offensive side here. It's been a little bit of time since that, but
yeah, Spalding's done a good job this half of, maintaining the pressure from the first half. It's not even that it was absent in that first half. We saw it during the first 45 minutes as an Eagle hits the ground hard, no whistle blown. That was Livingston. But the Eagles had a ton of pressure in that first half, just couldn't make anything of it. And CUC, they haven't really been able to find a way to counter that pressure here in the second half. All they're doing is, like we've said a couple times, they're bending, but they're not breaking. They're letting Spalding get those shots off. They're letting them maintain possession, but they are not going to give up a goal. At least they have not so far into this game.
yeah, and that also kind of stems from having a lot of trust in the keeper right now. Sheriff's doing a really good job so far today.
Yeah, we see in any sport that maintains a goalkeeper, whether it be soccer or hockey, lacrosse, you can just keep going on. A hot goalkeeper can do wonders for a team, especially in a game where it feels like the goalkeeper's team is getting drastically outplayed. They can turn the whole tides of the game, as we've seen Sheriff do today. 7 shots faced, 7 saves for the junior out of Simi Valley, California. She is a big reason her team is up 1-0 right now. get possession far sideline and then immediately kick it out. Bad foot there, so CUC will regain possession. They kick it out again. So another throw-in coming up here for the Eagles. Less than 25 minutes to go here in half number 2. Eagles looking for that equalizer. Cougars trying to hold on as they are just killing time here. They keep booting it out of bounds, making the game crew work in terms of grabbing any of the out-of-bounds balls, as this one kicked into the back of the net somehow by the Eagles. So goal kick coming up here for Sheriff. Sheriff going to take her time to get this one set. Gets the whistle from the ref and now hands it off. Ball kicked ahead, almost rolls to mid-pitch, but it's stopped the last second by a Spalding player. And now far sideline, the Cougars control it for a second. Allie Brown fighting for it, able to keep it in. Spalding thinks it went out. No whistle from the referees, suggests so. And that ball is going to be kicked out and roll out of bounds. A last-ditch effort by Cougar to try and keep it in, but lets it roll out. And it'll be a deep, deep throw-in for Spalding, almost to the corner flag. Here is the throw-in. CUC number 14, Natalie Flores, the only one in the vicinity. She knocks it out. As this ball will be knocked out again.
Cougars are really playing some pesky defense right now. Not really trying to do too much, not doing too much, just kind of doing their best to keep it away from the keeper as much as possible, help the Sheriff out.
Just keep kicking it out of bounds, force throw-in after throw-in from Spalding. And it also gives your defense time to keep adjusting, keep resetting, rather than having to make adjustments on the fly. They get that little break in play to figure out who's where, what's going on, as now the Cougars try to move it down the field. Here is Hirayama, tries to move it up ahead, and the fight between Dodson and Fairless ends in Spalding's favor, as now Dodson hits the ground. No whistle blown. And here's Dodson back on her feet, gives it up backwards, and nice move there by Bowens, keeps it going. Bowens moving it up forward. Bowens, a shot, and Sheriff, no problem, makes the save. And that is where you want to give some credit to CUC's defense, Dave, is, yes, we're talking about Sheriff. She's got 8 saves now on 8 attempts, but her defense is giving her shots like that. That shot, I'm no soccer goalie, but it looked like a pretty routine shot for Sheriff to make the save on. So, yes, she has had to make her spectacular saves today, but her defense is doing a good job of limiting those high potential chances from Spalding.
Definitely. I think as the Cougars are kind of on the offensive side here, but the main thing, too, you're seeing is obviously the keeper is known as the last line of defense. Mm-hmm. But the first few lines, those are the people making it a lot easier on Sheriff overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of the same thing we talked about with Bosch yesterday. She only had to make 1 save to get a shutout. Obviously a different story in that category for the Cougars today. Sheriff at 8 saves. But, again, it's the quality of the shots she's facing. Is all 8 of those, 5 yards out shots? No, there are quite a couple of just routine saves in there for Sheriff, and she's got to be able to credit her defense for that, for making her life as easy as possible. As a throw-in here from CUC deep in Spalding territory goes nowhere. As Spalding trying to move it ahead now. Good speed there by Frick, but she gives it up. Pamela Saldivar back in the game for CUC. Had to leave for a brief duration of time due to an injury, and good to see number 9 back on the field for the Cougars. Saldivar scored 1 goal last season. Tied her for the most among any returners. As here's Izzy Fairless. Fairless tries to center it, and it just goes through everybody and out the back of the pitch. So goal kick. Looked like Fairless was looking for Marecki. number 10 in white, and just unable to thread the needle, get the ball to her. Now here come the Cougars, unable to get good control out of it. Marecki, ball kicked backwards by Frick. Saldivar fought for a second, and now this ball, and now Spalding, they want a holding as everybody, their team, coaches, as well as their fans are up in arms. That was looked like a clear breakaway chance for number 17, Caroline Lighthall. And it looked like CUC, their defender, got a hand on her, but no whistle from the ref. CUC, Dave, they might have gone away with one there.
Yeah, I think you're not too far off there, Peter. It looked like it was a foot race that Lighthall was destined to win. And Sheriff helps the cause, obviously, coming out of nowhere. But I think at the end of the day, they definitely got away with maybe one might call it a home field advantage there.
Yeah, I wasn't able to catch the jersey number on the Cougar defender. There was two of them right behind her, so I couldn't even tell who might have committed the penalty, but it definitely looked like something slowed her down from behind. So CUC, as Dave mentioned, as their Spalding fans made very clear, might have gotten away with one there.
Yeah, you definitely see a handful of blue shirts trickled through the crowd here, and none of those were too pleased.
Say on the left side of the stands, at least from our perspective on the left side, right side if you're facing the stands, mostly filled with blue jerseys. I'm guessing friends, family who came out for this Illinois trip the Eagles are taking. They were at Rockford yesterday and now at the CUC today. So spending a nice weekend up here in Illinois. Maybe a little cooler up here than it is down in Kentucky right now. It's a gorgeous day for soccer.
Absolutely perfect weather today.
According to the weather app, 76 degrees right now in River Forest, which is just perfect. Not a cloud in the sky. Perfect day for a doubleheader for CUC soccer women's team. They got less than 18 minutes to go here in game one, and then scheduled for a 3 p.m. start. Again, we'll have to see, if that remains true depending on when this game finally ends. But the men's team is supposed to take on Carthage. Carthage is here. Saw their players come to the stands and leave the stands as they probably are getting ready to warm up as soon as this game is over. So, beautiful day for soccer doubleheader this Sunday afternoon, first day of September as well. As CUC tried to work it down, they couldn't get a control on it. Luciana Moran Cruz was the closest to it as that escapes her foot. And now the ball racing for the corner. Moran Cruz getting there as well, but she's going to be just beaten out by Clara Andrews, and it remains all for naught as the ball runs out of bounds anyways. And now Bosch will have a brief stoppage before her goal kick. A substitution here for Spalding. Rutherford, she'll check out. And checking in is number 30, Emma Schumann. Schumann, a freshman out of Decatur, Indiana, not Decatur, Illinois. As there's a header from Caroline Lighthall. And now rushing down the near side line with it was Frick. She moves back towards the middle as Spalding, they give it up. Here's Fairless. Izzy Fairless kicks it ahead, and Moran Cruz is going to be called offside. Moran Cruz was turned around as well. Would have been a nice breakaway chance, but not only was she facing the wrong way to receive the ball, but she was called offside as well. So no good for Moran Cruz and the Cougars as we have 15 and a half minutes left to go here in regulation. CUC holding on to a 1-0 lead right now. And that is a 1-0 lead they've had since the 31-17 minute mark of the first half. over halfway through that first half, as now we see a Cougar look like she got the wind knocked out of her. That is Hirayama. And Marecki lost the ball out of bounds. They waited to call it on her.
Yeah, a little delayed there, but result's still the same.
Marecki even slowed up as if she was acknowledging it was out of bounds, and then she quickly sped back up because she didn't hear a whistle. So Allie Brown will re-enter the game for CUC, checks in for Izzy Fairless, Brown starter in today's match. Graduate student out of St. Louis, Missouri, playing in her 5th year in the maroon and gold. Here's Julissa Diaz now. Diaz unable to get it to another white jersey. Ball kicked ahead, and it's going to get ahead of everybody as Sheriff has to kick the ball. It didn't exactly make its way into the box, so Sheriff wasn't able to pick it up. Instead, she booted it down. Spalding a throw in here. The ball popped up. Lands at the feet of Brown, hands off to Diaz, but it's kicked out by Caroline Whitehall. So CUC back with possession, getting ready for a throw-in from Diaz. 14 minutes on the dot to play here in regulation. Spalding, 13 shots, 9 of which have been on goal. They've got nothing to show for it as they're trying desperately to find an equalizer here and at least secure a draw in today's match. As this ball popped up towards the center and headed away by a Cougar. Here is Andrews, Clara Andrews. She finds Livingston. Livingston trying to put the moves on Hirayama. And now Spalding player hits the ground. It was Schumann. And now the whistle blows. So, Dave, this is a good chance here for Spalding. A free kick just past the 20-yard line. So about 30 or so yards away from the net.
Yeah, definitely a foul there, but also a little bit of theatrics from Spalding right there, selling it. Could be the difference.
So free kick coming up here. Big chance for Spalding to try and find an equalizer with less than 13 minutes in regulation as they're trying to get their players set. Little misdirection, and the shot lands in the hands of Brooke Sheriff. Kind of hard to believe, Dave. I mean, I knew there was some misdirection in there with the first player running past the ball and then the second player shooting it, but kind of hard to believe that was the optimal look for Spalding. A shot to the left pipe that Sheriff really had no issue covering. Kind of feels almost a bit like a wasted free kick there.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, at the end, you can tell that Spalding's starting to get a little frantic right here. They had an expectation coming into not only the season, but specifically today of, you know, it's hard to not look at the records of teams that you're facing and how they perform in years past, especially at the beginning of the year, and just almost kind of assume that you're going to take care of business. And now this is where they find themselves down 1-0 as we're just under 12 minutes left to go.
Another free kick coming up here for Spalding. This one not as dangerous, though it goes just about as far. Takes a bounce, ball bounces around and kicked out by the Cougars. That one could have proved dangerous at the end as it landed in a pile of bodies.
Yeah, that was a huge clear right there. Could have been a little dangerous.
CUC now back on defense as that ball is going to be kicked towards the corner and go out. It stays inside of the corner flag, so goal kick coming up for Sheriff, who is up to 9 saves on the day, as she's having a heck of a bounce-back performance after only appearing in 10 minutes on Friday. Gave up 1 goal on 1 shot. She is 9 for 9 in the save category so far today, and a primary reason that her team is currently up 1-0.
Yeah, it also looks like Rutherford checked back in.
As Rutherford puts one on. Saved by Sheriff. Oh, my goodness. Sheriff throws up the single hand and just gets a piece of it. Completely selling out for the save. it'll be a corner kick for the Eagles, but Dave, we've talked about all the routine saves that Sheriff has made being helped out by our defense, but those are the saves that really are the difference maker in a game like this, those last-ditch one-handed saves, and Sheriff makes those look just as easy as the routine plays.
Yeah, I would say that one was anything but routine right there, but she's really doing a great job, especially as we get down the final stretch here.
Corner kick coming up here from the Eagles. It's put towards the stands right behind the goal, as that was just a bad ball off the foot of Rutherford. And not the first time we've seen something like that from Rutherford, Dave. We mentioned she had a shot earlier, kind of a prime shooting position, and she just put it way over and to the right of the net. And now on that corner kick, unable to do anything good as well. So 10 minutes to go here in regulation. The Eagles have had couple good chances as of late, a couple free kicks that were potentially deadly for CUC's defense, a shot that took a stellar save from Sheriff to stop, and then a corner kick as well, and they are still looking at a goose egg on the scoreboard. As this ball rolling down, racing towards it is Claire Andrews. Andrews going to try and shield it as she receives a little push from Cazares. No flag blown. Jennifer Reyna has checked in for CUC. She has the lone goal for CUC. Valeria Fernandez and, as I mentioned, Cazares, they also recently checked in. We got another CUC substitution as well as a Spalding one here. It'll be Emma Livingston checking in. Coming out is Caroline Lighthall. Livingston scored the lone goal yesterday in their 1-0 win over Rockford. See if she can find the equalizer here, as she'll have to wait a second. That ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by Livingston's Eagles. As Diaz, the throw-in, right at the feet of Cazares. She loses it, and it goes out of bounds. They're going to say last touch on Spalding. Throw-in by Diaz. Hard header there from Diedzik. Livingston kicks it right into the feet of Diaz. Diaz gets another chance at it. That one off the head of Claire Andrews. Natalie Flores, she was the CUC player to check in a minute ago. And here is Diaz. Throw in. Looks like it hit the face, and now we're going to get a handball call. It'll be on CUC. As Cazares is being told to back up a little bit. Here Andrews moves it up ahead. Good foot there as it lands right into the feet of Frick. That was a nice redirection by Dodson. And now a CUC player on the ground. No call. This cornering kick, and it's just over the goal, off the head of a blue and black jersey. That was Rutherford. And again, Dave, we've said Rutherford's name so many times, and it's been talking about, you know, a missed shot or a close header or a missed corner kick. She's really, despite not converting on anything, she's really putting herself at the forefront of this Eagles offense, trying to get something going here for her team.
Yeah, if you're a Spalding fan right now, you just cannot believe the unfortunate and unluckiness that you're kind of going through right now. I mean, you got to believe that eventually you're just due to find one in the back of the net, as they have not yet.
Between all those plays involving Rutherford I mentioned, they also had a shot that looked destined for the back of the net. Brooke Sheriff had something else to say about that. And then, of course, they had that one no call from the referees, the breakaway attempt that was maybe held back by a Cougar hand or two. No whistle from the refs as here's a free kick. This ball is heading towards the net, and it's going to bounce to the left. And making a play on it was Frick. She runs into Sheriff. Both players look no worse for wear, as it'll be a goal kick now for Sheriff, wearing the highlighter green neon jersey for the goal keep. Bosch wearing the neon yellow jersey on the other end. Goalies, of course, wearing the different kits than the other players on the field to distinguish themselves. Throw in here for, as a hard foul there from Fernandez. And they're going to give the ball to the Cougars. That looked like Fernandez just shoved her opponent down to the ground, and instead they're saying it was last touch out of bounds by Spalding. So Cougars maybe catching another break there. Fernandez was all tangled up with her opposing Eagle. And that's a header back towards the Cougar side of the pitch. We're approaching the 5-minute mark left to play in regulation. And Spalding does control it. It's Dodson desperately trying to escape a double team from CUC. And she's able to knock it out of bounds off a Cougar foot. So Spalding throw in. Ball is towing the far sideline right now. Cougar knocked down, no whistle. Refs are letting them play. And now an Eagle knocked down, still no whistle. Yet the play will go towards CUC's goal. Throwing coming on here for the Eagles. And, you know, as physical as they're letting them play, Dave, at least they're calling it both ways. We saw a Cougar hit the ground there, no whistle. We saw an Eagle hit the ground there, no whistle. So, you know, as physical as these refs are letting the girls play, it's going both ways at least.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the one thing that you almost fear for as a fan, as a spectator overall, is kind of you just want to make sure that both sides are staying healthy overall. When you kind of let them play like this, it can sometimes lead to a little bit too much aggression, and that's where you start to see potential injuries.
Centering pass, and it's knocked away. Good play there by Saldivar, and this shot will go way over the net. I think it was also slightly to the right. So no goal there for Spalding. But, yeah, both these teams playing very physical. We've seen more players hit the ground in this second half as we get a brief stoppage of the clock. I believe the ball got trapped under the bleachers right behind the Cougars' goal. Sheriff had to go dig it out, so the refs stopping the clock for just 30 seconds or so. As the ball lands in the Spalding bench, they get a quick throw in. They are moving with some urgency here as the Cougars knock that one out.
Yeah, you're starting to see it almost looks like Spalding's bench is actively playing in the game as well, as you see anytime the ball's going out.
Yeah, we just saw Cassie Fleming, their backup goalie, almost make a save on the bench to try and get the ball back in for a throw-in. They know that, you know, balls leaving play and then taking a second to get another ball in play can eat up some much needed clock as this ball pop fly and it goes out of bounds, and it's going to be a corner kick for the Eagles. Sheriff came out to play it. She ran into her defender. Neither of them, I think the ball hit them and went out of bounds. So some miscommunication there between Sheriff and her defender, and it gives the Eagles a golden opportunity here.
Yeah, you really hope that doesn't come back to bite the Cougars right there.
Sheriff looked like she was all over that ball until she ran into her defender. Here's the centering kick, ball loose, and it's going back towards the far sideline, and now it'll go out the far sideline as, again, we see Cassie Fleming pick up the ball and quickly get it back to the player who's doing the throw-in. As Saldivar trips over, and now the Eagles on the ground.
Yeah, you're just starting to see bodies hit the floor immediately anytime there's some kind of contact.
Everybody kind of starting to sell out a little bit here. Maybe get a foul call, but also just put everything on the line. Cougars trying to play some tough defense with about 2:10 left to go in regulation. The Eagles trying to get as many possessions and as many shots off as they can in these last 2 minutes, because they're going to need something good here if they want to beat Brooke Sheriff and the Cougars.
Yeah, you're only going to get so many pushes left in these final 2 minutes. You're going to have to be pretty methodical, but also you don't want to waste too much time at going for each opportunity.
And here come the Eagles. It was Trentman. She hands it off, and now a centering pass, and it's going to be knocked away. Cougars get possession of it as a couple people collide. It was number 27 for CUC, Maggie Schultz, the freshman, and that is Emma Livingston. And so now some precious clock being eaten up by Sheriff as she's getting the goal kick ready. Sheriff taking maybe a couple extra seconds to really line up her kick. And she launches it into a pile of bodies. Here comes the Eagles. They're doing a good job of maintaining possession. And here's going to be a shot blocked in front. Good play there by CUC defense to prevent that shot from ever reaching Sheriff. As we are less than 40 seconds to go now in regulation. The Eagles, they have it deep in CUC's end. They just need to get it on goal at this point and hope that Sheriff slips up for the first time today. As good handling there by Diaz. That ball hits the trash can, goes back into play. They have to get the ball out. The referee just letting it go as now a game crew member enters the field of play to pick it up. 15 seconds to go here in regulation. CUC holding on to a 1-goal lead. Brown knocks it over. And that ball knocked out, and that is going to do it as there are 2 seconds. One, and the buzzer sound. CUC. First home game of the year, first win of the year. A 1-0 shutout of Spalding. And Spalding, who shut out Rockford yesterday 1-0, falls on the wrong end of that same score today. The Cougars, a heck of a defensive effort. They got the only goal from Jennifer Reyna, the freshman, and the defense took care of the rest. And Dave, it was really a story of defense for the Cougars. They had one shot today, one shot period. It was one shot on goal. Jennifer Reyna made it count, and then this defense, they just stood tall in terms of limiting opportunities, limiting good opportunities, and then, of course, you have to shout out the goalkeeper for the Cougars, Brooke Sheriff, 10 saves on the day. An absolutely perfect game from Sheriff, and that is a big reason her team walked away with that 1-0 win.
Yeah, I think the main thing you got to take away from this is, I mean, obviously the offense isn't exactly what you're looking for out of the Cougars, but it's that 100% shot efficiency that really saved the day right there. You kind of look at it and you think maybe that this could kind of catapult them forward into a huge momentum streak and are able to come away with another big win down the road.
Well, let's look at some of the final statistics. As shots, Spalding dominated that category, 17-1. Shots on goal, again, Spalding dominating, 11-1. Saves, the big difference maker, the Cougars and Brooke Sheriff with 10. Spalding and Olivia Bosch with 0 fouls. The Cougars were tagged with 13, while the Eagles only with 1. Eagles 5 corners to the Cougars 2, and both teams a pair of offsides. The game-winning goal and only goal of the game came from the foot of Jennifer Reyna, her first goal of the year, her first goal as a collegiate athlete. And as for the goalies, as I already mentioned, Brooke Sheriff with 10 on the day, perfect 10 out of 10. And Olivia Bosch with 0, gave up the only shot she faced. Gave up a goal on the only shot she faced, I should say. So it was a heck of an effort from the Cougars as they get to walk away with the first win of the year. They're back at action this Wednesday, September 4th, 2 p.m. right here at Concordia Stadium, taking on Ripon College. We'll, of course, have coverage for that game for you on the Cougar Sports Network, but don't go anywhere just yet. We will have a post-game interview coming up with the head coach of the Cougars, Eddie Garza. But before we get to that, I do want to say thanks to everybody making this Cougar Sports Network presentation possible up here in the broadcast booth. We had Abby Kulig and Tyler Dorsch producing, Jessica Gang and Ashley Schroll on camera. And then down at field level, we had Alan Mateo taking photos for us. We are under the direction of our grad assistant, Sydney Lloyd, as well as our sports information director, Cale McLeod. Dave Dimling joining me on the call all day. But we will have that post-game interview with Coach Eddie Garza coming up for you in just a second. And then we get set for the back end of today's soccer doubleheader. The Cougars men's soccer team taking on Carthage College. That game slated for a 3 p.m. start. We'll have an update for that on all of our socials as soon as we find out. But until then, post-game interview with Coach Eddie Garza coming up on just a second. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the Cougar Sports Network. Welcome back to the Cougar Sports Network. Peter Borkowski joining you once again. I'm joined by head coach of the CUC women's soccer team, Coach Garza. Congrats, Coach. 1-0 win over Spalding, first win of the year, and I think we can let out a little bit of a sigh of relief here. Let's start with those last 10 minutes. Spalding was pushing. This was a very talented Spalding team. They went to the NCAA tournament last year. They have a lot of, older, experienced players on the roster. So just kind of focus those last 10 minutes. What was that like for you and your squad of being able to hold on to that 1-0 lead against a Spalding team who was really putting the pressure on in those last, 10 minutes of the second half?
Yeah, in the moment you don't enjoy that, but these are great opportunities to learn and how to manage the game in those situations. So, we did switch the tactics a little bit because of, the urgency and the way they adjusted their tactics. So the team obviously did their best. Brooke came up with some good saves. The back line was very organized. And, collectively, that's how you see a game out. And I think that's why we got the result. We were able to hold on.
And let's talk about Brooke Sheriff for a second here. Only played in 10 minutes against Augustana. She comes here, 10 saves, 10 shots faced. Just talk about the importance of your junior goalie stepping up. The defense did a good job of limiting those good chances, but even when they were good chances, Sheriff stepped up and made some pretty spectacular saves at points. So just talk about how much of a boost that was to have her there, especially in a 1-0 game, getting late into the game.
Yeah, going back to the Auga game, she unfortunately got cleated in the first 2 minutes, had to come out, and you know, I wouldn't say the goal was her fault in that game, and me basically precautionary took her out, but you know, she told me she was ready to step up, and you know, I have a lot of trust in her. She's been working hard for 3 years, and you know, I told her she got the nod today, and I had full trust in her. But you know, she's capable of making those big saves, and she can only get better from here.
Definitely. And last thing here to wrap up, Coach, Ripon College coming to CUC on Wednesday. Talk about what it's going to look like these next couple of days. How do you go into that Ripon College looking to build momentum? You got the big win here over at Spalding today. So what needs to happen over these couple of next days to make sure that that momentum keeps going on Wednesday and you can hopefully get win number 2 when that day comes?
Yeah, I mean, we can't allow the momentum to fall. So I think it's preparation, focus. This is one game. So right now we're 1-1. It doesn't define where the season's going or where it's been. It's, you know, taking one step at a time. So the team's going to get some recovery. Players that maybe didn't play should, you know, get opportunities on the ball, and, maybe some fitness and things like that. And then we do have some. This is the return match for Ripon. Last year, we didn't get the win. I felt we controlled the game, and you know, probably could have had a better result. But so now I think the team will be up for that. You know, to protect the home turf now that we're 1-0.
Right. Well, CUC taking on Ripon College this Wednesday at 2 p.m. Coverage for that can be found at our website, cucougars.com. Coach Garza, congrats on the big win today over Spalding. Thanks for joining me, and good luck on Wednesday when you welcome Ripon to River Forest. But until next time, this is Peter Borkowski signing off of the Cougar Sports Network and wanting to say, as always, go Cougars.
Much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.